time for Southern Kentucky's Great Outdoors on ESPN 102.7 FM and 104 The Score. Brought to you by Bowling Green Refrigeration, Heating and Cooling and Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center with your host, Brian Webb. Also starring John Kirby and Sergeant J.D. Williams from Mohawk Outdoors. Josh Honeycutt from Realtree Outdoors. Also made possible by Swagger Bipods. Gary Force Paint and Body Shop. J&K Used Cars on the Bypass. Segments in part by Big & J Long Range Attractants, our national sponsor, and Renegade Marine. Also featuring Realtree's Michael Pendley Small Game Recipes from Realtree Outdoors. Timber 2 Table Wild Game Recipes. Sponsored by Tetra Hearing Devices. Get your edge back and hear the hunt. And all phone interviews via the Line X of Bowling Green hotline. Get ready for all things outdoors. Here's your host, Brian Webb.
Than Hell's Bells, that's for sure. Hanging out in the studio, Casey Warner behind the board, our WKU genius right here. We talk sports on Monday nights. Check him out with me on the Sports Web. John Kirby in the house on the mic, the Dolomite. What's up, man?
What's up, man? Casey is the resident genius in this room. What is it, like four times in a row you were on the dean's list?
Hey, that's presidents.
Presidents
and dean's
get it
list.
right, man.
I was on the dean's list one year, and then they found out Dean Pritchard. I was giving him fly fishing lessons on the side. They pulled me off.
I love that, Kirby. You just gave me the ending there of old school when the Porsche goes off the bridge. I got that mental. That's great stuff. On the Line X hotline, let's get with him. It's Michael Pendley, Timber to Table, brought to you by Tetra. Hear the Hunt. TetraHearing.com. Go on there right now. Take your hearing test. John did it a few weeks ago.
I did. You know, I was kind of shocked at it. I didn't think my hearing was bad, but I found out that I have some hearing issues in my left ear, which is very conducive to a right-hand shooter that I found out Bill was telling me.
Pretty amazing. We'll have Bill on next week. Looking forward to that. It's always a lot of fun. But let's jump in here with Michael Pendley. What's up, man?
How's it going, guys?
Doing good, buddy. Glad you're on the Line X hotline. And that's Roger and Gina over there on Louisville Road. Line X bed liners, they do it everything. It does not just bed liners. And you can get a gift card for your man if you're listening. You're a young lady. He'd love a bed liner. What you been up to, man? You popped out 2 good looking dishes in the last day or two. I saw.
Yeah. Well, we had an article come out for the main page yesterday, just talking about general freezer burn. This time of year, a lot of people. The freezers are starting to get a little bit slim from last season. Most of the good stuff's already gone, and a lot of what's left in the freezer is kind of gray colored and covered in ice, and you might or might not know what it is. So we talked about freezer burn, and, what causes it and what to do about it. And luckily, if it's not too bad, you can just trim it off and go on and use the meat just like you normally would. If it's really, really bad, sometimes that freezer burn, basically it's just like you can think of a freezer. The air in there is super dry. It's just like a dehydrator. So if that meat is exposed to that air at all, say you vacuum sealed and the seal came open or the package got torn and that cold air can get to the meat, it basically just dries it out like a dehydrator would jerky. Even more so. I mean, it just completely changes the texture of the meat. But like I say, luckily you can trim most of that off, and you can prevent it by vacuum sealing really well. If I've got something I know I'm going to leave in the freezer for a long time, I'll go to the trouble of sealing the bag twice on each end just to give it an extra little buffer, just in case one seal was to pop open. You've got a backup. And Another thing, if you're going to keep it for a long, long time, you know it's something that you're going to save and eat, close to a year after you killed it. Go ahead. A lot of times, like in my back straps and stuff that I eat early, I'll leave those as one continuous piece and then just trim it up when I'm ready to cook it. But if you know you're going to leave it in there for a long time, go ahead and cut it down to smaller size pieces and completely chill those pieces before you put them in the freezer so that they'll freeze really fast. And that cuts down on the ice formation that happens inside the meat. If it takes a long time for that meat to freeze, those ice crystals build up inside the meat, and they kind of destroy the cells. So that once those ice crystals inside start to melt, all that myoglobin, basically the juice of the meat, just kind of leaks out, and your meat's kind of dry and tough and chewy. So the faster you freeze that meat, the less time those ice crystals have to form inside. So that's a good tip if you're going to keep something in the freezer for several months. Go ahead and make it a small piece and stick that in the refrigerator, even overnight, so that it's completely chilled when you put it in that deep freeze, so that it freezes really fast.
We talk about it. We've talked about it several times on the show, Michael. If you're an avid outdoorsman, fisherman, hunter, or both, you really need to have a vacuum sealer, don't you?
Absolutely. The paper that everybody used to use, the freezer paper,
yeah,
it was okay, but it's nothing compared to vacuum sealing. But like I say, sometimes those vacuum seal bags pop open. I have it happen fairly often because we're constantly rummaging around in our freezer.
Right.
And we're beating and banging on that stuff. And a lot of times those packages will open. So if your vacuum seal, if you notice that happening, go ahead and seal them twice on each end. It takes just a little bit longer, but it gives you a little better protection over the long haul. And another thing to look into, they're kind of expensive compared to a regular vacuum sealer, but a chamber vacuum sealer, like the professional butchers use, those do a great job. What they do, instead of pulling the air out of the bag, you put the entire bag inside the chamber, close the lid, and it pumps all of the air out. That's inside the bag, outside the bag, everything. And then it seals under vacuum inside that chamber. So that is, there a lot of times with the pump style vacuum sealers, you'll still have a little air pocket or two, not with the chamber sealers. They pump all the air out. So, if you go in with some buddies, they can run $700 to $1,000. If you go in with a bunch of buddies and all of you share it, it's still pretty affordable that way. And the good thing about chamber sealers is the bags only cost about half what the vacuum seal chamber bags cost. So over a period of time, you'll save some of your money back that way.
That's a great point there, Michael, about going in with some hunting buddies. That's a great way to approach a lot of things with deer hunting. Going in together on leases, cameras, stands, all that stuff is just another way to kind of save $1, which is, maybe more important these days with kind of the climate we're living in.
Yeah. I mean, all processing equipment. If somebody looks at all the equipment they need to process their own deer, that initial investment is pretty high, and it can scare some people off. But, think about what you spend at the processor in a year to get your deer done, and then ask all your buddies what they spend to get their deer done. If you put all 1 year's worth of money in all together, you can buy all the equipment you need and just take turns using it, or even better, all get together a couple of nights a week and process it at the same time. With everybody pitching in, you can do 2 or 3 deer in, an hour. With all the equipment there handy. So
yeah, great
that's
point.
A good way to do it.
Absolutely. A bow press is another great item to go in with some buddies. An arrow saw is another one. You mentioned, getting together, all of you on a weekend and tuning bows and cutting arrows and building arrows. That's all part of the fun, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And that's a great idea. I've got a buddy that's got the arrow saw and bow press, and we're constantly over at his house tinkering around. Pot roast will be over there later this month, tinkering around with some new arrows. So,
absolutely. What else you got? A recipe for us?
Yeah. Today's recipe, it's a quick and easy one. It's another one that we got from our catfish noodling trip. anytime you catch a big flathead or a big blue cat, 30 pounds and up, 25 pounds and up, they've got a big slab of belly meat. And that belly meat's a little bit different texture than the standard fillets on a catfish. It's dense, almost like lobster when it's cooked. It's just kind of a real dense meat. So today we turned some of that belly meat into catfish jerky. And we did that by cutting that meat we take the skin off of it, and there's a membrane on the inside. It's kind of like a skin on the inside. We trim that off so that it's just pure meat. Cut that into strips and marinate it overnight, some soy sauce, some hot sauce, some honey, a few other things. And let that marinate overnight. Then we dust it pretty well with Cajun seasoning the next day. Put it on the smoker at 225 and slow smoke that for a couple hours, even up to like 3 or 4 hours. It won't get completely dry like jerky, but it's close. It's a chewy texture. It makes a really good snack when you're fishing. Even early bow season, it's a good snack. And you can vacuum seal that and freeze it and thaw it back out a little bit later in the year, just like you would jerky, and eat it then. But it's kind of a different take on cooking a catfish.
Oh, I love it, Pendley. Never gets old, man. It's always something new and fresh off the grill when it comes to Timber to Table. Hey, man, we appreciate you. I want to ask you one quick question before we go. Matter of fact, I want to let everybody know we got Matt Robertson on them. Big-time fisherman, fished the Bassmaster Classic last year. Hey, Pendley, before we go, though, man, I got to know this. I don't know if you remember John, I know you do. Casey, you're a little young for it, but Fear Factor was a show that was pretty cool. Joe Rogan hosted. You remember that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so they ate some, Madagascar beetles and all these other things. I got a feeling that you've had some experiences maybe with bugs or this or that. What's the craziest thing you've ever eaten, man?
I've had roasted cinnamon chili grasshoppers that were pretty good, actually. They're kind of crunchy, and they were a little bit sweet. Had the cinnamon and the hot pepper taste to them, chili powder, and they weren't bad.
Did it taste like chicken?
Yeah.
I've been eating all day, Michael. You're making me so hungry, dude. I mean, wow.
Grasshoppers?
Yeah, grasshoppers. I mean, just the chili, doesn't that sound good?
It does.
I've had those, and I've had mealworm cookies before, where they dried out mealworms and ground them into a powder, and those weren't as good as the grasshoppers, but they were edible. So,
oh my goodness, man! I've wanted to ask you that for 2 years, and I finally figured out. Finally got.
You could probably make a whole episode, Pendley, of some wild stuff you've eaten. I bet
you could.
Yeah.
You could. Hey, next week we got Bill Tetra coming on, Bill Dickinson. But I wanted to see maybe a couple weeks from now if you could work it out. Maybe you and Pendley, or you and Pot Roast could do like a two-way and call in or something. That way we could.
Yeah, we'll try. He's working during the week. He's working at summer camp again this year, doing maintenance and mowing and
good
stuff.
for him, yeah.
So he's not always around on a Wednesday night, but if I can get him home on a Wednesday evening, we'll do it.
Oh, sounds like a plan. Timber to Table brought to you by Tetra Hearing. Michael Pendley, check him out on realtree.com and go to Timber to Table, and you can see all his recipes, 400 or 500 of them on there. Michael, thank you so much, man.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Michael.
Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss Matt Robertson. Continuation of our Team Renegade that we've been doing for the last 4 or 5 weeks, and he's a big part of that. So don't go anywhere. Stick around. Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center fishing segment coming up after the break on SOKY's Great Outdoors, ESPN 102.7.
And McCarty's coming in from the bullpen with no warm-up. I cannot believe this. We've never seen a pitcher come to the mound without warming up. Let's see what happens. Whoa, that's a long one. Oh, and another. Whoa, that's 7 home runs this inning. If he would have only warmed up. In baseball, pitchers don't take the mound without warming up, so why would you take chances with your air conditioner when you need to cool down? Don't wait until it gets hot. Turn to the experts. Clean and service your unit today with Bowling Green Refrigeration, your authorized Carrier dealer. Bowling Green Refrigeration can service your Carrier unit and all other major units. Set up an appointment today, 270-782-5391. With a clean Carrier unit, there'll be no surprises this summer. Bowling Green Refrigeration, your comfort is their concern.
Gary Force Paint and Body Shop stands with Southern Kentucky in this pandemic because they know if you've ever driven in Bowling Green, you can survive anything. A natural name change? I just don't see a one there. It's just I-6, an entire Fountain Square renovation. Oh, there's a spot. Park over there. And, of course, the roundabout.
Hey, I think I finally got this whole roundabout thing down.
We made it through that, and we'll make it through this. Together. Gary Force Paint and Body Shop, Bowling Green's iCar Gold Certified Body Shop that works with all major insurance. Behind the post office on Vanderbilt Drive.
Okay, gun owners, listen up. You love to shoot, so you have to check out Tetra. Don't settle for big, hot, uncomfortable earmuffs or foam plugs. Developed by 2 hearing doctors, Tetra Alpha Shield is the best sounding, most comfortable, and easiest to use, period. Tetra is more than a hearing protection, it's hearing perfection. Get your edge back, try Tetra, risk-free for 30 days. Call now and mention SportsWeb and receive $100 off your order. 615-618-9904 or anytime at tetrahunt.com.
Not all spray-in is created equal. For example, spray-in honey. Why are all these bees following me? Or maybe spray-in tanning.
Hey, you missed a spot there on your face. Oh, that's bad.
See Line-X of Bowling Green for spray-in bed liners and Line-X truck gear. It's the next level of complete tough gear for your truck. B&W gooseneck hitches, toolboxes, step bars, and WeatherTech doormats. Gift cards now available. Easy, affordable, and rugged. Line-X. Check out more at linexofbowlinggreen.com.
Watching new movies on demand demands Poston Electronics. Now that Hollywood's skipping the theater, choose Postons for big picture, big clarity, and big screen sound at home. While the theater's closed, Poston Electronics renovated and expanded, bringing Southern Kentucky more at home and on the go. It's what they've done since 1974, just bigger. Forget tickets for the family. Think of what you'll save on popcorn. On Demand is here to stay. For your home theater, demand Poston Electronics across from Firestone on Broadway Avenue.
The sounds of summer. We're more grateful for them now than ever. Willow Oaks Golf Club is putting your family first when it comes to health and safety. Willow Oaks is thankful to provide the opportunity to have fun, memorable moments while social distancing. Willow Oaks offers a beautiful golf course, restaurant, and now you and your family can enjoy the swimming pool. Become a member today at Willow Oaks Golf Club. Please contact Willow Oaks with any questions. 270-308-OAKS.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
It's time to go fishing with Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center, 415 Commerce Drive, Litchfield, Kentucky, on SOKY's Great Outdoors.
Thanks for hanging out with us tonight on 102.7, 104 The Score up in Glasgow. You're tuned in. And this guy's always tuned in to where the schools of fish are migrating. He knows where they're at. They're scared to death of him. He needs no introduction. It's a continuation of the Renegade Marine team interviews. We've got Matt Robertson. What's up, man?
What's up, Brian?
On them in the flesh. I love it. What are you doing today? I hope you're not working out in this stuff.
Dude, I've been working 15-hour days out in the heat.
Oh, my goodness, man.
I'm telling you. But, hey, I'm done today. I'm done for the week. My boat broke down on a Friday night tournament, and Renegade's got it ready, so I'm on my way there to get it, and I'll be fishing the rest of the week.
That's how Renegade rolls, man. And you must have done that right there, because you guys weighed in. I don't know if it's that tournament you're talking about, but you won one this weekend, right?
Yeah, we won one Friday night and won one Saturday night.
I saw that, man. That was a heck of a bag of fish y'all had on Malone, yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, man, Malone's fishing really, really good right now. I told Wendell Saturday night we were catching them and calling our shots, and I told him, I said, man, I know we've caught bigger bags than this, but I've never been that dialed in where, I just know every time we dropped trolling motor, I knew we was going to catch a 4+ pounder, you know.
Wow.
It was ridiculous.
Insane. What are some things maybe you could kind of point to how that all lined up and how that happened?
Man, the fish are a little behind up there, and they're just now getting out a little deeper, probably 8 to 12 foot. And whenever it's dark, we're having to throw a worm. But once the key is once the moon comes out, throw a real big black and blue jig. And I don't, I can't tell you why it works, but I can just tell you that's what's working. Before the moon comes up,
Bowling Green's only sports station, ESPN Radio 102.7.
Well, I guess we had station identification, Casey. Thanks for that. No, he didn't. He couldn't help it. He had the tally on. I was like, is that Jesus talking to us? I don't. Well, continue on with that. But success at Malone, that's good because that's not been that way every year, has it?
No, it's been fishing pretty tough the last couple of years. You know, I know Malone isn't people's favorite lake, but if you're looking to have some fun at night, it's definitely a place to go right now. Kentucky Lake's fishing a little tough. Even at night, it's fishing tough. I think 13 Pounds won a night tournament last weekend. But same deal, you know, whenever the moon comes out, throw the big black and blue jig or rage crawl on the back of it. And man, that's what's working at night. And the next couple of days, I'm going to be getting prepared for the BFL on Saturday and hopefully go out and win it. So I haven't been on Kentucky Lake in a while, between traveling, working, and everything. But I'm very excited to get back out there this week, you know, get back on the home pond, do some looking, and to say I'm excited is an understatement.
Man, that's we love hearing good things coming out of the Autumn Camp and Team Renegade. It's good stuff. And what happened to your boat?
Man, I broke the drive shaft in the lower unit. I don't know how. Sherbert said he only sees it about once every two to 3 years. But I promise you, if somebody can break something that doesn't happen often, it's me. I break everything.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
But I was going to say, Kirby's
I've never
second.
fixed anything in my life. I've only broken stuff. Matt, have you been on Barron any in the last couple of weeks?
Man, I haven't been on Barron. I got a real good buddy that's been on Barron. And I think some people's catching a few, but I think relatively it's fishing fairly tough, you know. I got a lot of years in on Barron. And unless I don't know if y'all have gotten the rain and the lakes came up, but man, you ought to be fishing brush piles or deep, 20 to 25 foot right now.
Yep.
I think that's sound advice right there for sure. And the night bite has gotten a little bit better, though. I heard a couple of days ago I was talking to a guy who's hammering them up there, and I don't know as far as bag wise, but he's going at them hard. He's practicing hard, and he's saying that night bite is getting a little bit better. That 8 to 10 bite's getting a little bit better. So that was kind of slow early on, I think. While the water was receding and that sort of thing. But I think it's been tough too. I've heard that it has been tough. But if you get on them and you can catch them in the right spot, but it's just they're coming and going so much, man. It's hard to dial in, and you're seeing that in some of these weigh-ins. Some guys ain't even coming to the weigh-in. They're just their boats, trucks are gone, and there's only a few guys that are weighing in fish. So it's dog days of summer, Matt. You know what it's like.
Yeah, if you're going fishing and you're not catching a whole lot, don't let that deter you. Get out there at night and go out there and throw you a spinnerbait or a jig or a worm. And man, I'm telling you that the night fishing is usually substantially better than it is during the day this time of year. Then bigger fish come out to play at night. I guess you'd call them nocturnal if you want to, because they won't show themselves during the day, that's for sure.
Not a lot of skiers on the lake at night either.
That's true.
That's right. That's right. There's been more skiers and pleasure boaters than I've ever seen this year on the lakes.
Absolutely, yeah. I've seen the same, Matt, up at Barron. The fish y'all were catching at Malone, were they schooled up? Were y'all catching several fish at a time, or were you kind of picking your way across the lake, picking up one or two?
The most we caught off a spot at a time was 4, but most of the time 2 or 3. I'd call them little schools, Malone, I've only seen a couple times where there's actual, big school, and but 2-3 fish schools, and then you can make your rounds and go back there and catch, another one off of them.
Yeah.
And then they're about done. But man, after this, I'm getting ready for the Bass Opens. They got the Elite Series going and the Bass Opens going, and I'll be headed to New York here in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's awesome. What lake up there? Is it a river or lake up there?
It's a lake. We're going up to Oneida Lake. It's a big smallmouth fishery. Not one of the greatest northern smallmouth fisheries, but there's really good shallow water largemouth. You can kind of pick what you want to do. But I'm really excited for that. I like Oneida. I had a good finish there last year, and man, I'm ready to get things back going. This fall's going to be busy. So.
Well, we're going to play a on-'em quiz game here in just a minute, and John's going to get one ready. I've got a couple ready. What we're going to do is, I want to ask you something first, but right after that, we're going to play this game. And what I'm going to do, I'm we're going to give you conditions, and not a particular lake, but just conditions.
Yeah,
general conditions. No sonar. You have no depth finder. You have nothing, no graph, nothing to look at. You're out there in just a plain Jane bass boat with a trolling motor, and I want to find out some stuff from you there. But before that, I was listening to a radio show out of Texas that's kind of like our show, and they had I won't say who it is, but they had a ML elf guy on, and he's also an elite guy at one time, and I thought the question that was posed was a very good one because I really liked what he said, and I'll tell you what the question and what his answer was, Matt. He said, "Do you feel like Major League Fishing, even though it's better for the species as far as less fish being, dying, which is a big deal for all of us. We don't want that. We want those. I hate to even see people eat bass, to be honest with you. But on top of that, he also brought up a point, though, and it's pretty profound, and I want to get your thoughts on it. He said, but I tell you what, man, growing up, and I can attest, same with me, being at a weigh-in and seeing especially a bigger tournament, with a lot of fanfare. There's just something that takes away. It takes away a little bit of that, and I don't know if it's detrimental to the young folks coming up, because to me that's where I was more malleable and impressible, I guess you could say, if that's a word. But it's one of those. It's one of those things to where, do you feel like the weigh-ins being out and gone? I mean, do you feel like that's one of the downsets? But I like Major League Fishing. I like it. It's fun to watch, but I think he did have a good point there.
Yeah, so this may sound a little crazy, but so in bass, in any sport, you have a time after you win where you get a little bit of glory, right?
Yeah.
Well, the weigh-ins where you get that little bit of glory, and I think that's what hooks a lot of people in the sport of bass fishing is, some young kid goes out here and wins a tournament, and he gets to strut around a little bit. He's proud of, you get to kind of be proud of what you've done and your accomplishment for the day, and the camaraderie at the weigh-ins. So, you meet new friends, talk to new people, and I think that's a big part of the sport, and that's something that going to the Major League Fishing style format, it eliminates, and there's good and bad about it, but I think it's a necessity, needing the weigh-ins,
The fans get glory, too. They get to see guys they
idolize.
idolize.
They get to come out there and see their
They're fishing heroes. Absolutely. It's kind of like going to a rodeo and not getting to see the actual 8-second ride. You just get to hear the score. It kind of takes away from it a little bit. But on the flip side of it, I get it. You're always going to lose some bass that way. Yep. There's just no way around it. So I get both sides, but I'm with you, Matt. You got to have that weigh in.
Yeah, that's. Thanks for commenting on that, Matt. You didn't have to do that. I appreciate that.
I think if anything, as far as the dead fish, they could stress fish care a little bit more. And
there you go.
I know people stress fish care more, but I don't think people exactly understand to what extent on how to take care of the fish. It's just like Friday and Saturday night. Each night we went through 2 big bags of ice, 2 10-pound bags of ice, keeping those fish cooled off.
And that's at night, Matt. I mean, during the day.
That's at night, not even during the day.
Right.
At noon, when the sun's beating down, noon to 3. I mean, that's good stuff. All right, we got about 5 minutes left here. Let's do this thing. Let's jump into the on-'em game. I love it. That's what I'll call it. All right, no sonar, nothing. You're out there with a trolling motor and a motor and some rods. Yep. All right, overcast, 6 o'clock in the morning, sun just came up, wind out of the west. Where are you going first?
Where? I'm going to Main Lake Flat with a walking bait, a Strike King Sexy Dog or a Mega Dog.
Awesome.
And see if I can pull some fish up on top.
I like it. Got a scenario?
Perfect answer. Yeah, something pertinent to right now. Brian mentioned earlier, dog days of summer. What are you going to do when you're fishing a day tournament in the absolute heat of the day on a lake you're not really familiar with?
Nice.
On a lake, so there's one bulletproof answer for that, and that's go find some docks and fish docks.
Yep.
You know, throw a jig or a little worm or a Senko around docks, and you're going to get bit. I don't care where you're at in the country.
I love it. All right, late October, and it's a day tournament, but your weigh-in's at 4:00 or whatever. All right, and it's raining cats and dogs, Matt. And it's raining cats and dogs, and the water is relatively calm. All right, so what is your first plan of attack if you need a big fish and all you need is one more for your bag to be worthy? And all that hard rain coming down, you can't hardly see, but no lightning, there's no danger. What are you adjusting to once that rain starts hitting hard?
So normally, if it wasn't raining, I'd be throwing a topwater, a walking bait. But since it's raining, I've had it where the fish won't come up on it as good, and I'd be throwing a glide bait, man. Just a 7-inch glide bait. Trying to find that one last big one.
Oh, man, I tell you what, dude, this has been so much fun. And is there anything you want to leave with the fans and the listeners? Because you got a bunch in Kentucky. Anything you want to say before we go?
Yeah, guys, I know fishing's tough, but like I said, don't get deterred. Get out there and keep on after it. Get in these tournaments and pursue your dreams.
Matt Onum Robertson. Matt, thank you so much, man. And good luck this weekend. I'm glad they got your boat ready to roll, so didn't hold you up any, all right?
All right, I appreciate y'all having me.
Always a pleasure,
Always
man.
a pleasure.
It's a big deal for us to get to have you on. Matt Robertson, everybody. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back with Big and J Long Range Attract and Swagger Bipods hunting segment right here on your only local outdoor show, SOKY's Outdoors 102.7.
It's summer, and Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center loves seeing everyone on the water with a smile. However, with so many sales and happy customers, coupled with the current backlog of new party cruisers and bass boats, our inventory is low compared to normal, but our morale is high. Thank you for your business, but most of all, your trust and loyalty to Renegade Marine and Outdoor Center. We appreciate everyone's patience and patronage. With high call volume and inventory harder to stock, rest assured our staff is doing all they can to serve our clients at 415 Commerce Drive in Litchfield. Call 270-259-0001, online at renegademarine.net. Can you hear the hunt? You will with Tetra. Designed by hearing doctors and avid hunters, Tetra offers premium hearing enhancement and protection, programmed for your specific hearing loss. Pinpoint turkeys gobbling, the big bucks slipping behind you, or protect your ears in the duck blind. If you want your edge back, try Tetra risk-free for 30 days. Call now and mention SportsWeb and receive $100 off your order. 615-618-9904 or anytime at TetraHunt.com. Tetra isn't just hearing protection, it's hearing perfection.
Game Exchange is back and paying up to 20% more for your cash trades.
Only Game Exchange.
Is paying you more cash for video games and accessories.
Only Game Exchange.
Is paying you more cash for your electronics like iPhones, iPads, watches, and audio.
Only Game Exchange.
Is paying you more cash for your comics, trading cards, action figures, and Funko Pop.
Only Game Exchange.
Is paying you more cash for your Blu-ray and DVD movies. Get more cash for your unwanted items.
Only at Game Exchange.
Scottsville Road, Bowling Green, across from B-Dubs.
Summer is finally here, and guess what's back?
BOGO.
Buy one membership, get one for $50. Sign up for the premium package and meet with an expert personal trainer. The premium package is the bomb diggity. You'll also have access to tanning beds and hydro massage. Keep your body in shape for the lake, pool, or beach. If you haven't started working out, this is the time. It's never too late. Call now or visit your local workout anytime for more details on
BOGO.
Buy one, get one for $50.
I am Southern Kentucky Great Outdoors. I am your spirit of the wild, my brother. God bless America. God bless Kentucky. God bless working hard, playing hard, American families in the asset column. We are blood brothers.
Welcome back. Right here, bottom of the hour. Always fun. I want to thank Matt Robertson, Michael Pendley for their contributions to this show that we all love so much. But on the Line X hotline, we won't keep this guy waiting. John and his partner here, Josh, deliver every week some absolute crucial tidbits for you hunters out there, novice and expert. It's always good stuff. Josh, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. How are y'all?
I'm good, buddy. I didn't get to do my dance today, though, because Casey was on the phone and I played the Nugent, and instead of the maybe I'll do that. We'll take one break and I'll do the dance here.
I can feel the hurt in Josh not getting to witness that. Josh,
I'm crying.
yeah, I bet you are, buddy. No doubt. Yeah, man. So, we're going to talk some kind of mid-late preseason scouting stuff, some tactics that Josh and I would use, and just kind of how Josh and I would approach these next 45 to 50 days we have up until the opener. Is it September 5 this year, Josh?
I believe it is.
Yeah.
I believe so.
I think so. So 45, 50 days away. It's fast approaching. Let's get into it. What are some things right off the bat that you'd mention?
Yeah, I don't do a ton, in these final days. At least it doesn't, on the surface it doesn't appear. So, I try to get as much work as done possible as both, we both do. We hunt together a lot. We're trying to get stuff done earlier in the summer so that we don't have to do much in the field action. That might be considered intrusive by some deer, especially mature deer. But there's still a lot that we do. And, there's plenty to be done between now and September 5th, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of my thinking right now is, like you said, on the surface it might not look like we're doing much, but there's definitely some things to be doing. But I'm trying to avoid the big mistake. That's kind of in the back of my mind, kind of leading up these last 6 weeks or so, whatever it is. I'm trying to avoid that mistake. I'm trying to avoid bumping that target deer or those target bucks, and really just trying to play my cards right and be kind of methodical with what I'm doing. What about you, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not doing, other than maybe perhaps some new properties that, we might gain access to, or properties that you just haven't had an opportunity to get out and do the work on yet. Whatever the case might be, there's probably still going to be some in the field, prep work that hunters have to do every year, even into late summer. But it's best to try to keep that as minimal as possible. But, getting cameras out, getting all that stuff done, getting tree stands hung, that's best done earlier in the year, long before deer season. But, when you're able to do that and you're able to get the intrusive stuff finished early on and you're able to kind of sit back and I wouldn't call it relax, but at least not do the things that are, might pressure deer in the field, there's still a lot of other things that you can do, such as glassing from afar, checking trail cameras with, in a manner that's not going to pressure deer, bump deer, starting to build those game plans for the season, and another big one that you can do that has absolutely zero impact is to study all of your information, that you have from past seasons. And that's something that I do just about every July and August. I'll go back through and start looking at old data, old trail camera photos from deer that I think are going to be back in play again this season, that I think or know made it through last season, and weren't either killed by a hunter or EHD or something else. I'll start looking back at past trail camera data for those deer, especially early season deer, but I do it for every phase of the season. And I'll start piecing together information such as, this deer was in daylight, on September 10th last year, or that deer was, here in daylight on September 12th last year. And I'll start to compile all these little data points. And generally, in a perfect world, which it happens quite a bit, with as many trail cameras I've run, I'm kind of a junkie. But, I'll have quite a few data points, daylight data points from target bucks that I want to hunt this fall that will hopefully be back. And it can kind of help paint a picture and create the beginnings of a game plan for this season.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great points there, Josh. A lot of folks out there, doing a deer journal is not like the sexiest thing a deer hunter can do, but right now is a great time to start those deer journals. And like you said, start compiling that data, looking at historical data, but also compiling data these next 6 weeks. Every time I lay eyes on a target buck when I'm long distance scouting from now until September 5, I'm jotting that down. any trail camera sightings, I'm jotting all that down. And like you mentioned, all that data kind of compiled really helps paint that picture, doesn't it?
Yeah. And really, I go pretty cheap on a lot of my trail cameras because I personally would rather have more cameras. I don't set them up in intrusive areas. I will let some cameras soak in bedding areas, but whenever I do that, they're in there for like a year, for a full year. I'll put them out in like, April or May or June, and I won't check them until the next April or May or June. But and I do that just for curiosity's sake and to get information for that general area. And that doesn't give me information on specific bucks, but it does give me information on specific areas and how deer are using those areas. But I kind of went on a tangent there. But personally, what I like to do is I like to have a lot of cheap cameras, and I'll put those on easy to check locations such as food sources. And you can check these more frequently. I still don't check cameras very often. Generally, only once or twice before deer season, and some of them I won't check at all before deer season. But you can do that without bumping deer, but you can't do that if you've got those cameras further back into cover. So personally, I like to have as many cameras as possible out and check those. Because the more cameras you have out, the more data points you're going to have out. And this is a really long-winded answer, but I was trying to build up to it. Just wasn't doing a very good job of it. But increasing the number of data points you have for a particular deer is huge because, it's easy for deer to miss cameras. But if you can connect linear or directional paths or that a deer might take, so if you've got 3 or 4 cameras out, and he hits 3 or 4 of those cameras in the same, day, you can kind of get a linear path or a linear direction of how that deer is maneuvering the landscape because you have those timestamps that tell you when he was and where he was and when he was there. So you can kind of connect those dots and figure out where those deer are bedding, where they're feeding, and really drill down on where you need to hunt those particular deer come season.
Man, good stuff, Josh. I love the year-long soak. I think that's something that the vast majority of hunters probably don't even think about, but especially on farms that you personally own or that your family owns or that you lease long-term, where that historical data can really pay off in the years to come. Those year-long soaks with those cameras, man, that is huge. I mean, the intel you can gain from those, it's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, and you get a lot of pretty pictures, too, because they're generally in daylight. So, and again, you will learn about specific deer, too. It's not going to benefit you, if you do it right, because you're not going to be checking it for a year after you post it.
Right.
But so it's not going to, really benefit you for any particular specific target bucks that year. But if you're able to chase a deer for multiple seasons, having that camera in some of the best bedding areas on the farm can tell you where specific long-term bucks that you end up hunting for multiple seasons, it can reveal valuable information. But it's just like anything else in life, you're going to have to wait for the good, and it's not going to benefit you for a year after you do it.
Man, 100%.
Until a year after you do it.
Yep, I love it. And I think a mark of a lot of really, truly good hunters, great hunters even, obviously they're trying to kill that buck here and now, but they're playing the long game too, right, Josh? That historical data that you can gain from a year-long soak like that, immensely valuable.
I think so.
Yep.
I think so. And whenever you're doing that, you mentioned, you hit it on the head, a lot of good deer hunters, and I don't even consider myself a good deer hunter there, but, a lot of good deer hunters out there, they are, they're really good at threading the needle. They play the long game, but they also play the short game.
Right.
And they know when to be aggressive. They know when to move in for the kill. They know when and how to act. And that's key. No one doing all the things that you can do to play the long game while you're also playing the short game is kind of hard sometimes to grasp and formulate a game plan around. But once you start operating that manner, playing the long game while also playing the short game and knowing how to be both reserved, conservative, as well as aggressive at the same time whenever it calls for it, that's when things really start clicking and, consistent success starts to fall into place.
Great. Long game here tonight. It goes so fast, it's more like the short game. But we're going to hang out, take a quick break. Don't you go anywhere, because we're going to come back up and finish up with our Big and J hunting with Josh Honeycutt, John Kirby, SOKY's Outdoors, 102.7.
J&K Used Cars is the place to go when you need a quality automobile at an affordable price. Stop in at 670 on the Bypass in Bowling Green and see this week's special. A 2006 Lincoln Mark LT pickup comes with leather interior, 5.4-liter engine, chrome wheels, heated seats, good miles, and more for only $10,995. Hurry in, because at that price it won't last long. J&K Used Cars, with over 40 years of serving the community with affordable prices on quality automobiles. Visit J&K on the Bypass and online at jnkusedcars.com.
Watching new movies on demand demands Poston Electronics. Now that Hollywood's skipping the theater, choose Postons for big picture, big clarity, and big screen sound at home. While the theater's closed, Poston Electronics renovated and expanded, bringing Southern Kentucky more at home and on the go. It's what they've done since 1974, just bigger. Forget tickets for the family. Think of what you'll save on popcorn. On Demand is here to stay. For your home theater, demand Poston Electronics across from Firestone on Broadway Avenue.
So what's the deal with Big Green Egg Grills? Mike Keith here, letting you know if you're looking to grill, smoke, or bake on the highest quality grill out there, you need to see Bowling Green Fireplace and Grill. They have the Big Green Egg, #1 for over 25 years and with good reason. With a lifetime warranty and best-in-class ceramics, this thing is awesome. There are no chemicals in Big Green Egg Lump Charcoal. And Bowling Green Fireplace and Grill has the best price in town, just off the bridge on Old Louisville Road. BowlingGreenFireplace.com.
I'm out of breath. What?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Oh, folks. Wanted to make a quick plug here. Kentucky Fish and Wildlife. John, the new annual hunting guide is out today. It's
Yep.
Get that right there online. Josh, John, get right back at it.
Yeah, Josh, you with us still, buddy?
Absolutely.
Yep. Man, kind of coming off what you were just saying there at the end before we took the break, this early season when you're catching these deer on a summer feeding pattern, patiently aggressive is kind of the term I like to use. I like to be patiently aggressive because you and I both know that summer feeding pattern, that is one of the very best times to pattern a big mature buck. In fact, they're probably more patternable right then and there than they are any other time of the year. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that last that same, even though the pattern itself, the specific pattern itself might change, I think that concept and that idea, that extends from the early season well into October. Even right up to or through the pre-rut. Deer are pretty predictable. Even big deer are pretty predictable once you figure them out. They're pretty consistent, through that period up until the rut. They might change or transition to their fall range. About 50% of bucks do transition sometime between the early season and pre-rut will transition to their fall range. But either way, once you've got a deer figured out, they're pretty consistent in their pattern unless they do either A, relocate to a different range, or B, the rut kicks in. But the key is to, at least in my opinion, is to figure out what that pattern is without tipping that deer off, and that is the biggest challenge.
Absolutely, I agree. And I'd say probably the biggest factor of why these patterns can change incrementally, it's all food, right? I mean, they're pretty patternable, but like here real soon, these deer are going to kind of start coming off of green fields and all these green browse that they have available to them, and they're going to be starting to hit these ag fields heavy, bean fields and such. So kind of really staying on top of changing food sources. That's kind of the theme all the way through October, right?
Yeah, it really is, and almost, in a way, season long.
Yep.
It's the same way in the late season. It's just, again, the food sources have changed. It's not quite the same during the rut, but if you prescribe or subscribe to the theory that you're still hunting the food because that's where the does are, it still technically applies there, even though bucks aren't just on a bed to feed pattern anymore. But there's never a time in the season, in my opinion, there's never a period that is more beneficial for a hunter or a buck is more susceptible from that regard, from the bed-to-feed regard and bed-to-feed tactic than during the early season, as you mentioned.
Yep, absolutely. We've already kind of touched on it, Josh, talking about long-distance scouting. It's something we talk about regularly on the show, but it's for good reason. It's a super important part of this puzzle. And I will say quality optics. I mean, you really owe it to yourself to get a pair of quality optics. I do not leave the truck. I do not hunt without optics. Even during turkey season, I always have a quality pair of optics with me. But the long-distance scouting, we gain all this intel from trail cameras and scouting and all this, but laying eyes on that buck that you're after through long-distance scouting, that's no impact. You're not impacting the deer because you're way away from them. You're not pressuring them, but that's huge for a hunter, right? Actually laying eyes on the deer you're after.
Yeah, I think so. And without optics, it's going to be hard for you to know exactly what deer that is. And if you see a big deer out in the woods or out in the field, you need to know exactly what deer that is, especially if you're trying to pattern specific bucks. Because if you're hunting in an area that's really good and you're probably, you have multiple big deer on it, or even some smaller deer that might look like a bigger deer from a distance, it's really a missed opportunity if you don't take the time and the opportunity to figure out exactly what buck it is that you're looking at. Because again, that's another data point that you can put toward the game, plug into the game plan for that deer for opening day.
Yeah, good point. And to kind of take that even further, Josh, and mention something that you and I are both big on, and it's learning these individual deer personalities. All deer have their own personality, but when we're talking about mature bucks, that personality and knowing that deer in and out can really kind of help stack the odds in your favor. And again, those quality optics are going to help you lay eyes on this deer, see what kind of personality traits he has. Is he a bully? Is he a loner? There's so many things you can learn by putting eyes on these deer.
Yeah, and that's very true, and it's especially true once you get deeper into the season, whenever you're kind of into that pre-rut, tail end of the pre-rut, and the rut itself, because what personality type that deer has, it can dictate what you end up doing tactic-wise. Because if you're hunting a deer, even if it's a mature deer, there's a lot of mature deer out there that have submissive tendencies or submissive personalities. They aren't dominant deer, even though they might be an old deer or they might have a big rack. They might even have a big body, but it's all about attitude. I've seen small-bodied 4.5-year-olds whip big-bodied 5.5-year-olds. Usually the bigger-bodied deer wins, but still, that's not always the case. It's not always, the old saying goes, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog, and that holds true for whitetail bucks too. So if you know what personality type that deer has, and if you're in the tree stand come late October or early November, and you know that that's a submissive deer, you're probably not going to snort wheeze at it. So it works in exactly the opposite one if you know that it's a dominant deer. If you see a deer that you know is a bully and he's out there at 100 yards cruising and going in the other direction or just out of range for a shot, you can pull that grunt tube out and either throw a grunt or a snort wheeze or whatever at him, and you're probably not going to spook him, and it has a decent chance of working.
Man, great points, Josh. Absolutely great. I know I'm kind of jumping around here. That's the OCD in me. But I will say, or something else I want to say, and this kind of holds true for me pretty much all season. During the rut, it changes a little bit, but going back to kind of talking about being patiently aggressive, and I want to get your view on this, Josh, as well. But I will not go in and hunt a buck that I'm after unless I feel at least 50% confident that I can kill that deer for a number of reasons. What's your take on that, and how do you approach it?
No, I completely agree. And until I'm 50%, there, or think that I have a 50%, odds of success, I'll still hunt that deer, but I'm going to hunt that deer on the fringes, or I'm going to hunt him in low odds spots or areas where I don't think that I'm pressuring that deer. But just like you, if I think I've got that there's a slight chance that deer is pretty killable, or at least 50% killable, I am definitely moving in deeper, and that's when you get aggressive. Is when you think you've got that opportunity of success, or that window of success is bigger than it normally is, or whatever. But once you figure out that buck has a weakness, whatever that weakness might be, whether it's a geographical feature that allows you to get in tight to his bed, or a food source that he's really hitting hard in daylight, or whatever that might be, once you see that window of opportunity start to open up, and you think that the success rate the odds of success are going up, that's the time, in my personal opinion, to go ahead, move in deeper, and play that aggressive card.
Absolutely. Good stuff. We've got about 3 to 5 more minutes here, Josh. Anything else that you view as super important that you're doing in the coming weeks?
Just trying to figure out how to kill a 170-some-inch velvet deer like you did last year. Let's talk about that. You had the epitome of an early season deer hunt last September. What are some? I'm just curious, just as a listener of the show and participator of the show myself. What are some of these things that you did, to bring that hunt to fruition like you did this past season?
Well, I'll tell you, Josh, that particular deer was in an area where I just didn't feel like I could get in and get trail cameras set up without buggering him up. And really that kind of played a key role in my success, I feel like, because I spent a lot of evenings way back off of this bean field glassing this deer several times a week, sometimes even 5 times a week. And this was an older age class deer, and he was really kind of set in his ways. And so I got to lay eyes on him a lot, and I knew exactly what he was doing. And I tell you, the beans really started kind of turning. He made a little bit of a shift. He started bedding in a little different area and using a little different area of this large L-shaped bean field. And a couple of days into the season, the beans were really turning. And these bucks much prefer those green beans. And the green beans that were left, and I'm talking a several 100-acre bean field, there was only a couple of acres left of green beans, and that really kind of focused him in. And beyond that, the key to killing him is taking an off-the-wall approach to getting in there. The traditional way to access this farm, if I'd have taken that route, I would have blown that deer out and I'd have never seen him again. I actually got dropped off on the side of the interstate, hacked my way up a riverbank for probably 600 yards and accessed this farm that way, and I was able to get in there undetected. And not only that, just importantly, I think, Josh, and you know this better than anybody, getting in there undetected, obviously that's a huge deal. But if you don't kill that deer, you also have to get out undetected. So I had a pretty foolproof way of getting in and getting out. And on the 5th day of the season, I was able to kind of connect all those dots and make it happen. But kind of the key there was just accessing that place without boogering that deer up.
Yeah, it was a great adventure and a heck of a deer, and I think you nailed it on the head too. Being able to get out, because even if, say, it is 50% chance of getting that deer, there's a 50% chance you won't, and generally those are the best odds you're going to have of getting a deer is 50-50. And so more times than not, you've got to get out of there, like you said, without bumping that deer. And if you don't have a way to do that, you're going to be blowing the future hunts that you do plan for that spot. So I think that is a really underrated aspect of deer hunting that people don't talk enough about.
Absolutely, Josh. Man, time flies when you're having fun. I could sit here all night and jaw deer hunting with you, buddy, but we are out of time. But we will be back here next week, Wednesday, same time. We've got Bill Dickinson with Tetra Hunting coming in next week. You don't want to miss that. Gentleman is a wealth of knowledge. Be back next Wednesday, ESPN 102.7.